Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to a dialogue that speaks directly to the power of law as a tool for rebuilding stability and future growth. This coming conversation looks at Syria's progress and future investment landscape and how arbitration and dispute resolution can support stability and the rule of law. This panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen, will be in Arabic. Just a kind reminder, we have live translation devices for you. You can tune into your preferred language channel. إذن حضورنا الكرام، تبدأ الآن الجلسة الحوارية بعنوان سوريا الجديدة، التقدم والاستقرار ومستقبل الاستثمار، دور التحكيم وبدائل تسوية المنازعات في دعم سيادة القانون بسوريا وترسيخ الاستقرار وتحسين المناخ الاستثماري. ندعو معالي وزير الاقتصاد والصناعة في الجمهورية العربية السورية الدكتور محمد نضال الشعار، ويدير هذه الجلسة دكتور جورج عفاكي عضو مجلس إدارة المركز السعودي للتحكيم التجاري، محكم دولي وأستاذ القانون في جامعة باريس. أهلا وسهلا. حضورنا تحية كبيرة وطيبة لمعالي وزير الاقتصاد والصناعة في الجمهورية العربية السورية، يحاوره الدكتور جورج عفاكي. أهلا وسهلا فيكم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone. I vividly remember the morning of 8 December 2024. I was attending an international conference when the session was suddenly interrupted. News had just broken off the liberation of Damascus, and the room erupted into a roaring applause. That was an unforgettable moment. It has now been 15 months since the fall of the Assad regime, and Syria has since entered a period of transition under new leadership, a period which is marked by the easing of international sanctions, a renewed engagement regionally and increasingly internationally, and the mobilization of post-conflict recovery efforts. The scale of reconstruction needs is immense, but so too are the investment opportunities, and with opportunity come questions. Questions about stability, about policy continuity, about institutional capacity, and about the commitment to the rule of law. To discuss these questions, my guest today is Dr. محمد نضال الشعار, Syria's Minister of Economy and Industry. Minister, welcome. Minister, had our exchange taken place in Arabic, the room would have marked our common accent. This is because you and I hail from Aleppo, the capital city of the north. It is 8,000-year-old and one of the main wayposts of the Silk Road. This is why all Aleppo natives are well known for their ingrained trade feeling. Your journey has taken you from Aleppo to Washington, D.C., Manama, Dubai, Istanbul, and now Damascus. And my first question to you, Minister, is looking back at that journey, which experience most shaped your sense about Syria's economic needs today?
Okay, that'll do. So, going back to Aleppo, it was an important experience for someone who comes from that part of the world, because you learn their basic trade, the forces of supply and demand, but you learn them in a very basic way, mostly P2P. It's not institutional as you would like to see. And coming from a business-oriented family, that was very helpful. But then I realized at one point that this is not really as stable as I thought it was. Syria at that time was going through a tough time. It was the beginning of the dictatorship in Syria led by the previous regime, namely Hafez al-Assad, and things were not stable. It was very easy for you to lose everything you have just by a signature of some officer or some. in your property, for example. And we went through that as a family. At one point, I was nearly bankrupt completely. So it was important to find an alternative, an option. The option is to gain education, a degree that no one can take it away from you. So that was the beginning of the trip to the United States, and there it was astonishing experience. It was beautiful experience. There you meet, you learn how institutions work. I was lucky to work in corporations that are highly financially structured. Governance issues were at the beginning at that time in the 80s, early 80s. So I was a student of that kind of institutional thinking. Then went back to Syria, and after that I went around working in banking sector and in stock exchanges, financial markets. And again, this institutional way of thinking, this new mindset was slowly but surely instilling in me as an individual. And I was able, through teaching, to spread that and permeate it all over my students. So it's a beautiful journey. It's a rainbow of so many things, so many stations. And now back to Syria as a decision maker is really something that I'm very proud of. I have it's a gift actually to participate in building your country on, solid grounds and real, good principles, not like it was before.
You're back in Syria, Minister, and it is fair to say, isn't it, that you are a key figure in the transition leadership team, which was set up by President al-Shara. You would agree with this label, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
You're in charge of devising and implementing the economic policy of Syria in this pivotal moment. And last August, you gave a public interview where you assessed opportunities for investment as exceeding $1 trillion. And in July 2025, together with Saudi investment minister, you announced at the end of a conference in Damascus $6.4 billion in investment pledges. This is a strong signal. Well done. And it seems to me that it supports also the view that you have consistently advocated for, that reconstruction should, as much as possible, be financed through investment rather than through debt.
Yeah.
This is all fine, Minister, but surely you must also understand that investors invest in enforceable rights, not in pledges, not in potential, not in possible rights. And as you are aware, aren't you, Syria is a party to 45 bilateral and multilateral investment treaties, of which 33 are currently in force. International law protections come with each of those treaties. Investors expect their entitlement to fair and equitable treatment, full protection and security, free transferability of capital and earnings, and should there be an expropriation, they expect fair and effective compensation. They indicate that they are entitled to those international law protections. What do you say, Minister, to investors and to their legal counsel sitting in this room about how Syria will reinforce confidence in legal certainty?
Yeah, first of all, we have to realize that there has been a disconnect. It lasted for over 15 years during the revolution that took place in Syria. And today we are a new state with new principles, with new, the mindset is completely different. So what we need to do as a government today is to review what it had transpired over those 15 years and what was there before the 15 years. Of course, we have to adhere to some of those treaties because they were made through the state. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. They are still treaties, and we have to respect that. But we also have to develop the tools, the new instruments to deal with the outcome of those treaties. Now, we realize that this is not an easy issue for new coming investors, and we have to instill a new spirit now in Syria when it comes to arbitration, when it comes to investment, when it comes to, guaranteeing investment. And this takes new mindset. And what I see now, that Syria is ready to receive capital. In the past, capital did not come to Syria in the traditional ways. It was coming in a very chaotic way. Today, we are organizing this flow of capital. And we all know, Doctor, that capital does not fear risk. Capital fears arbitrariness, fears personal whims, and political convenience. So we have to be cognizant of this fact. The nature of capital today is completely from what it was towards Syria in the past. So we are going through some guiding principles. The first principle for us is predictability. We think predictability is the most important issue that we have to adhere to. And the second is enforcement over promises. We have to have tools and ways to enforce whatever dispute comes around or comes in your face. The third is we have to consider the dispute resolution as part of our economic infrastructure. It's not a legal luxury for us today. It has to be core part of our economic infrastructure. It's as important as building roads, dams, ports, or power grids. With those guiding principles, I think we will be able to develop that system that will protect investors and create for a conducive environment for more capital to flow the country.
My next question, Minister, is a follow-up on this first question. And I have to preface that question by reminding everyone that I forewarned the Minister before he stepped on the stage that this room is full with international dispute resolution practitioners. But it takes more to deter Minister Dr. Ashara. You did not desist from your commitment to take the stage. And my question to you is a question I suspect that a lot of the counsel and arbitrators sitting in this room might want to put to you directly. Minister, arbitral awards are binding obligations within the National Investment Framework, and of course I refer to Law 18 on investment in Syria, and specifically, and you should know that, all of you, Article 33, Article 35 of Law 18, which refers to arbitration and enforcement of arbitration awards, but also the International Investment Framework. Are there circumstances, any circumstances, political, fiscal, public policy, that could bring you, Syria, to reassess the enforceability of international arbitral awards against the state?
It should be obligatory, definitely. It's a binding liability. We cannot really make it subject to political convenience or consider it as a political event. It has to be binding. We have to detach the state from the institutions that force outcome. By doing so, I think we guarantee the rights of major investments, or all investments. So this separation or detachment is actually essential. We cannot let dispute subject to the state's convenience. That would be completely wrong. And this detachment is essential. This will give us certainty, predictability, consistency, and stability that you need and really establish a good dispute resolution system. Plus, we have all those forms and norms, from UNSTRAL all the way to New York Convention that we can rely on. And we have a roster of arbitrators who are ready to come to Syria and help. But we have to respect the outcome regardless, and we should not let political convenience or political whims or wills to interfere in the outcome of those independent institutions. See, if I look today at the experience of Saudi Arabia, I see this whole system has become a national competitiveness system, and that's very important. So there is an ecosystem behind it. Everything is running that way. Institutions, the state, the courts, the arbitrators are all moving in the same direction, because this whole thing has become a national competitiveness issue, and this is what we have to do. This should inspire us in Syria to follow the same model.
Minister, you just mentioned national competitiveness in Saudi Arabia, which for me is a model in cutting the red tape. We all know the excellent leadership that Minister Al-Qasabi and Vice Minister Dr. Al-Mutairi, who were sitting here a few minutes ago, in cutting through the relevant government entities by creating this one-stop shop, which is national competitiveness. Do you have anything like national competitiveness in Syria today, or do you plan to set up a one-stop shop for investment-related decisions?
Now, we have one-stop shop when it comes to direct foreign capital, like for investments. We have created the investment agency that will take care of foreign direct investments. It's up to a limit, of course, and it's a one-window type. And through this agency, you get a license to invest in Syria, and the agency will take care of all the paperwork and all the bureaucratic, things that you have to do to start shops in Syria. So we have started that. We've changed the investment law. We've modified the investment law that we used to have before. We have given breaks, tax breaks, incentives, all sorts of incentives for foreign investors to come into the country. No limit on nationalities, no restrictions on capital inflow, outflow, no limits on returning, or reclaiming your capital. It's pretty much the same as other countries who are trying to encourage investments. We're following the same model.
Thank you. We're out of time, but there's a question I'm very keen to put to you, and it is as follows. You say, Minister, we want investment. Investors say, we want certainty.
Yes.
If I were to ask you to point to one measurable action within the next 12 months that would demonstrate that Syria has genuinely entered a new phase of legal certainty and its respect for the rule of law, what should investors watch for?
Yeah. As you know, Doctor, a declaration is not enough. To declare that you have something, it's not enough. You have to test it. You have to try it. So within this route, we have to wait for a precedent to form, to prove. We can declare that we're going through those basic principles that I talked about. We can set up shops, we can set up centers, but that's not enough. The most important is to have successful cases. When a dispute case comes in and it's handled properly, early, decisively, no favoritism, no political convenience, then I think the world will be attracted to Syria to do business in Syria. So unfortunately, we have to wait for this precedent to take place. But within that, we should develop the ecosystem for dispute resolution to be, system to be successful. Without this ecosystem, I think we'll be lacking.
Minister Dr. Nidal al-Sha'ar, it has been an absolute privilege. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.